Welcome back to the show. Earlier this morning, Don Sweeney, who's on set with us right now, congratulated Charlie McAvoy on his gold medal. Of course, crazy travel, lots going on with Team USA, so you're just seeing him for the first time. Very classy move by you, Don. Thanks for joining us on set.
Sometimes you got to swallow your pride and do what's right. And,
he took a deep breath.
I hadn't seen him, but the Olympics were fantastic right up until they weren't.
Well, listen, as you know, I'm from Canada, and we're on opposite sides. I'm so proud of, obviously, the players like you are that you employ and you know. But it was heartbreaking for Canadians, but you should be so proud. Like, so few GMs get a chance to do this, and you were considered constantly one of the best of the best. What honor did it mean to you to be there and go represent Canada?
That's a lifelong memory. You know, to work with those guys for almost 2 years, to watch the players pour every inch of themselves, their heart and souls into the game, to watch the Hockey Canada staff prepare, you just wish for them that it would have ended differently. But you're proud to be a Canadian.
What was the rest of your Olympic experience like? You know, were you able to do a few other things and check out other stuff, or was it hockey 24/7?
There was some downtime in the first 3 days. You're practicing a little bit and getting acclimated, but for the most part, we just talked hockey. You know, we got a chance to go to some other events. Took a day trip with my family. Did some things within Milan, which is a beautiful city, and a lot of history there. So that part of it was really rewarding to spend time with my family there. But the rest of it was hockey, and not that we were making a lot of decisions at that point. Our work was done, but certainly being fully embedded in the experience.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to move on to Bruins if that's okay. Hey, the good thing is about TV, and if you want the clip, I'll find it for you. But since day one of the season, Don, I was saying you guys would be competing for a playoff position. I know there were so many moves that were made, and it was doubtful for how the Bruins were going to click. But they've clicked. They're in a good spot right now heading into the break. What are your general thoughts of the overview of the season and how it's developed for you guys?
Well, our mantra was to be a more competitive team and a harder out, and I think that we've accomplished a lot of that. There's still work to be done. There's growth to be had, but Marco and his staff has done a really good job. We identified the power play. It was an area that we needed to improve. Steve Spott's taken over that, come in and done a great job. We started out strong in penalty killing. That's certainly leaked some oil in the last little while. But we take too many penalties, so it puts a lot of pressure on that group. Strength of defending. You look at the month of January and the teams and the games we played. I think that's indicative of how we have to play moving forward to have success. But we're excited about the challenge in front of us. The group of guys have really, kind of bonded together. It's taken a while. People questioned the lack of leadership without a captain and such, but our leaders have done a really, really good job. We're proud of them.
It's funny, and I don't want to go too much on tangent, but nobody talks about not having a captain anymore because you've seen a lot of guys step up. And we talked about that on this set early on. We didn't think it was going to be an issue because we felt this team had that.
And Marco's done a great job, too.
Marco's done a beautiful job. Speaking of excited, how excited are you that you found a diamond in the rough, I'll say, in Jonathan Aspirot, who has come in and, Marco knew him a little bit, but from the American League only, and he has come in, he had to earn it himself, and he did it, but he's taken it to such a level. Did anybody see this coming? And then you signed to that 2-year contract extension.
Well, I think our scouts saw it. To some degree, they deserve the credit for identifying players that maybe or not have gotten a chance. The timing always works out. Now your coaching staff sees something that maybe the other organization didn't. It started, Marco pointed out, that systematically, it fit Jonathan, his skill sets fit their eye. And now he's gone in and complimented Charlie or wherever he's really played. Ultimately, the player gets the reward. He deserves the credit because he's taken advantage of the opportunity. But it starts with our scouts and identification.
Does his development, does his blossoming onto the scene, so to speak, change anything in your mind as we get close to that trade deadline a week from now?
Well, he adds to the depth of our group, where we might have had to look from the outside there. We still want to try and complement, supplement our group. The players have done a great job to be in the position they are. We would like to add to it. We're going to be a little more cautious than we have, for 10 years running in terms of really being aggressive. But if there's opportunities, we're going to try to pursue them to improve our hockey club. Albeit we started a plan, a painful one at that particular time last deadline to add to the organizational depth and talent, and we've done some of that. We got work to do to continue to do. but we're going to explore both sides of the fence. At the end of the day, we're proud of our group, and we believe in them.
There was a trade freeze when he was in Italy, right?
Yep.
But you said when you sat down and you talked hockey with other GMs, there wasn't a trade freeze on talking, was there?
No, and you saw that. There was a couple executed right coming out of it, and
when I'm getting to it, did you have any conversation?
Yeah, again,
He's always getting to something.
Yeah, always
Don,
have to.
always.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if when you have a plan, like you always do, whether it's building for long term or now, can a GM ever call you with a deal that changes your mind about where you're going?
Yeah, you have to work, as I call it, working both sides of the street. Ultimately, you've got a path that you want to plot out, but you better have A, B, and C, because once you're doing the exploration side of things, you never know how another general manager's trying to change the identity of their team now or moving forward. And there's opportunities that present, and hopefully you're in a position. We have acquired, a little more draft capital than we've had. We're not as aggressive as we have in years past, and we identified that. The onset of what we were trying to do moving forward.
But you have that draft capital coming, 4 first-round picks basically the next 2 years. That's very attractive to some other teams out there, so somebody could surprise you with something perhaps.
Yeah, and then that's the job. We have to understand who's potentially available or cultivate ideas internally that we can go out and sort of pitch and try to cultivate. It might not even happen now. It might happen before the draft, because as you get closer to the draft, the picks even get more and more valuable. But we'd like to improve our team if possible. But if we're comfortable about where we are because of what we're trying to build.
I'm going to end on a positive note. We're asking you about the positives that you've seen so far with the Bruins as we head to the final 25 games of the season.
Well, again, I think that we're a really highly competitive team. These guys stick together. People question whether or not we score enough goals. We've got guys that have stepped up our power play. Areas that we've tried to address, for a while there, our defensive zone was a little more discombobulated than maybe we had hoped. Marco and the staff has done a really good job. The players have now adjusted, and I just think the growth in our players, both on and off the ice from a leadership standpoint, how they're going to play on the ice, how they want to execute, and how they want to play for each other, speaks to what we were trying to accomplish.
Really quick, I know the game's changed, but when I talk to players and people from other teams, they talk about how the Bruins are the toughest team physically to play against. How proud does that make you too? Because there is something to be said for the big Bruins.
Well, again, being a harder out was something that we weren't going to stand for. I thought last year, and I referenced that we didn't do a good enough job in that area. And this year, these guys have each other's backs. And I also talked about implementing younger players. Frazier's a good example of that, of having some players that give him some breathing room, some space. The next players, the younger players that we're going to integrate into our lineup, moving forward, we'll appreciate that.
Don, thank you so much for joining us.